It's Gary. I'm back in my Three Maples shop here working on the old sawmill. This morning I'm starting to wire it up. This is going to be basically an electrical driven sawmill. It's all 12 volt and 120 volt controlled. The 120 volt is there to run the drive and also to run the debarker saw. And when we get to that I'll show you the debarker. Everything else runs off 12 volts, a battery up on the head. Even the hydraulics is all self-contained on the head. It's 12 volts. And it's for a dump trailer with a couple of pistons, but it's controlled by 12 volts. So all that is going to take place here on this control, and I'll show you that to you now. Here on the control box will be forward drive of the carriage, and this is the controls for the drive. It's a dead man stop switch. You have to hold the switch over and to let it drive. And as soon as you let go, the drive will stop. There's also an emergency stop here. This cuts power to the drive. On this side is the start. One button here. So you'll hold this. It's not on now because I can't move it. But you hold this over, hit that one time, it'll drive. Speed control here, direction control here. So inside is, we've started wiring it. I've got all the drive wired up. Here's the stuff to go up on the head. The 120 comes in to this. And all these switches will control different things. Okay, this will be the throttle. I can throttle it up in intervals, but when I want to throttle it down, I just hit that and it'll go back down to throttle, to a minimal throttle, so that the blade will stop turning because of the centrifugal clutch. This is the guide lock. The guide is driven in here and out, but to lock it into place to make it stiff, that's what this does. So in will lock it in, and I'll have to hold that, but going out, I can just hit it. Again, it'll drive it out of the way, and then the lock out of the way, and then I can drive the guide. The up and down will be on the side in these two holes. Right now it's not hooked up because I'm still using it at the head. When I get this done, this will be to turn the 120 volts on and off at the head in case something goes wrong with that. There will be a charger mounted permanently on the head, a battery charger for the 12 volt battery. This will also control that. So that is the electrical. Right now I'm working on getting the wires run over to the head from here. So the wiring will come out of the box, go down around the arm, across the back, up this post, which holds it up out of the way, and the lighting isn't that great. And there's a wire strung, and you'll see that in a minute when the lighting gets a little better. There it is. There's a wire strung between two posts, one way in the front and one way in the back, all the way over, and that goes over to the head. Here's a close-up of one of the hangers. There'll be 4 hangers on the little pulleys. And these are made out of some stuff I had, and I'll show you how I make those now. Okay, I'm set up in the Bridgeport. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten the top of this out a little bit so that the nuts will lay in a little better. And then I'm going to drill 2 holes in it. Now I realize we don't all have Bridgeports, but a nice drill press you can do the same thing with. You may have to flatten this out with a grinder or a saw or something, or maybe you don't flatten it out at all. It's not totally necessary, but I like it a little elegant, so that's what I'm going to do. Now I'll switch over to the drill. And first we'll go ahead and set this in with the center drill. I'm kind of estimating because I don't think it's that critical. What I have here, because these are just from a hardware store, I just had them around. It's some kind of U-bolt with a little keeper on it, and that's what I'm using. Center drill. Take that out. And I have a bit here that obviously I got to go down a little bit. And what this is some 1-inch aluminum I happen to have kicking around. I think it's going to work out real well. And these have got 1/4-20 nuts on them, but what's interesting is the spacing between them is 35 millimeters. Went the wrong way. In there, and it does. So I got to make 4 of these, and then we'll put them on. All right, I slid my U-bolt through the pulley. This is basically a clothesline pulley or something off the hardware store with a swivel on it. And I put 2 nuts on, and this piece, the cross piece, I've put some tape on just to cushion the blow, if you will, a little. And a couple of flat washers. This is a kind of a pain in the butt thing to do, but and then the keeper. Now I've got 4 wires I'm going to be using, and those go up through. What these wires are is 2 of them are actually 50-foot extension cords I got at an auction for not much money. And because I'm dropping everything, but that's okay. And the other is some 10 conductor that I have. And I'm sorry I'm trying to hand hold this camera, but you can see the wires are going to come down. And now they start hooking to the post, the cross member that actually holds the guide box on. They come around the back of the mill and down to a loop at the bottom. This is the loop that allows me to run this all the way around the back and back up. Now we're going to cross the mill. We've got a couple of them anyway. Then up the post. Up there, and now we're going to start down our cable. One of the things I always do is I always wire from one end or the other. So I will have, right now all the slack is on that end, all the extra cable is down there, and I'm going to start at that end and work my way all the way back to there. So I know I have enough wire here to wire it in. You can go and leave enough hanging out both ends, but chances are it's not going to be enough somewhere. The other thing I do is, as I dress it in, as I put each wire in, I'll start with using some number 12 single strand, basically wire for 110 volt or 220 volt wiring, and I'll wire in the cables just to hold them. And I'll come back as I go, I'll take that off, and then I can straighten it out, and I can put my tie wraps in and make a nice neat bundle as I go. So I've had a tie wrap there, so I'll put another one up here. Or if you prefer, I could say zip tie, I suppose. My son don't like it when I say tie wrap. But us old guys, we use tie wraps, and the young guys, I think they use zip ties. I'm going to cut this one off on this side, because one of the things with zip ties or tie wraps, if you don't cut them right, they're razor sharp. So what you do is you get yourself a set of cutters that are sharpened to one side. This is a little set of cutters like this. You can also use a big pair of fingernail clippers, but I prefer this. And then pull slightly on the tie wrap and cut straight across. Now, it won't cut you. If you just snap that off with a regular pair of dikes, it'll be razor sharp. You've either got to go back with a soldering iron and melt it, or file and file it off. So I'm going to go down through here and I'm going to tie this all in. Alright, I've got the wire dressed in and ready to go on the trolleys, but what I wanted to show you is I want you to look at the wire. Let me just zoom in a little bit. So you go down through, you'll notice the wire does not cross over itself in any place. And there's a really good reason for that, because every place that it crosses over becomes a place for a broken wire to form as it stretches back and forth time after time. Every time this saws, this wire has got to fold up and unfold. If you leave a cross, at that cross, eventually you'll get a broken wire. So that's the reason. It does look better, but it's actually much more serviceable. This morning I've installed a box on the head. I'm getting ready to wire it. You can see I've got 4 relays in there to carry the heavier current, and the rest is all control wires. So I'll show this to you when I get done wiring it. There's about, I don't know, 30 wires. I've taken each of these 10 conductors and I've labeled what they are and what color it is that they're going. Okay, it's wired in. Had some trouble with the relays. I bought them off of eBay, and the guy said they were 12-volt relays, and he was right, but they were a very strange relay because they're latching relays, which I can't use. So for now I've bypassed them, and I will get a set of relays, get that squared away. But we've got that in. It's pretty well dressed in, and we're ready to give it a try. Alright, first thing we'll try is the throttle. I'm not going to start the motor, but we should see it pull in. There it goes. It's opening the throttle. I'm holding down on the button. Now I'm just going to click it back. It goes back to idle, so the blade will stop moving. Next thing I want to try is down, and I don't know how well we can see it. There's a motor down in there. There, so let's see if it pulls in. You can hear it binding it down. Now I'll unbind it. I don't think you'll be able to see it, but you can hear the motor running for the guide. In, out. Next thing we'll try is the drive. Make sure the thing drives. Let's go up and down. Seems to work. So we'll try forward. Reverse. And the battery charger comes on when I hit the switch for the 120 volts upstairs. Only thing I got left to do is hook up the debarker. I haven't made it yet, so I can't hook it up. And that's it for the electrical. She's ready to go.